Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's not 9 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and I am your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive for Thursday, August 17th. Glad that you could make it, and we're so glad that, you're going to be with us here, I hope, for the next 4 big broadcast hours. We got a lot of stuff to cover here, and I want to get right into it. We've been talking a lot about the ongoing investigation into Hunter Biden, but really the investigation is aimed at Joe Biden. As I think someone said correctly the other day, Hunter Biden was the salesperson. The business really was all about Joe Biden. I mean, he was the business. You were selling indirectly access to a then sitting vice president of the United States and bringing in millions and millions of dollars to the family. And there has been a remarkable new twist in all of that. Are you ready? I mean, boy, I can't wait for this thing to start unfolding. According to James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chairman, he has now sent a note to the National Archives and Records Administration demanding that all documents and communications in which then Vice President Joe Biden used a pseudonym be handed over. I mean, we're talking about, something that is, not supposed to happen in government. I mean, when you're in government and it's an official communication, there's not supposed to be a private email. Hillary, did that, and everybody said, oh, you can't do that. But she did it. Certainly by the time Joe Biden was the vice president, it was well known that you're not supposed to use pseudonyms or private email for official business at the White House. But apparently they now believe that there are a huge number of emails using pseudonyms. Joe Biden goes by, apparently at times, Robert Peters, Robin Ware, and J.R.B. Ware, W-A-R-E. And who knows what they're going to find when they start doing the search for all this stuff. So, Comer has put in a request and said, give me everything you got on Joe Biden communications using pseudonyms. Robert Peters, Robin Ware, J.R.B. Ware. Now, it'll be interesting if the archives come back and say, we don't have anything on that, because we know that this has happened. Comer listed the pseudonyms in a letter to NARA, the National Archives, in which he demanded access to documents and communications regarding official duties that overlapped with his son's activities in Ukraine. One email, which Comer says the committee has already seen, includes an attachment with the vice president's schedule, indicating that he had spoken by phone to then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. The email was sent to Robert L. Peters and CC'd to the vice president's son, Hunter Biden. Joe Biden was the designated foreign policy point person to Ukraine during the Obama administration, and the House Oversight Committee argues that Joe Biden threatened to withhold U.S. aid to Ukraine in 2015 until the president of Ukraine fired prosecutor Viktor Shokin, who had jurisdiction for an investigation that was underway into Ukrainian energy company Burisma. And this all, of course, comes at a time when Hunter Biden was being paid $83,000 a month to sit on the board of Burisma. As Devin Archer described it, he was there representing, quote unquote, the Biden brand. Years later, of course, you know that Joe Biden bragged about the firing of Shokin, in which he pushed for during an official visit to Ukraine in 2015. By now, you have no doubt heard the soundbite where he says,
"Oh, son of a bitch, got fired."
Got the guy fired. So, on Tuesday, Comer issued a request for all unredacted materials which then Vice President Joe Biden used a pseudonym related to his relationship with Ukraine. Comer explained he specifically seeks an email titled Email Messages to and from Vice President Biden, Hunter Biden, related to Burisma in Ukraine. Comer said the email attached with the document was sent to Robert L. Peters, a pseudonym. Robert L. Peters, the Vice President of the United States during the Obama years, had apparently a number of fake names that he used to carry on communications with his son and his business partners. And we know that because there happened to be one that slipped through the cracks and that Comer's people got a hold of. How many more are there? How many times were they trying to avoid, talking through official channels about the things that were going on? Somehow one slipped through the cracks and one ended up in the hand of James Comer. He thinks there are a lot more. I suspect what you're going to find out is that the archives come back and says, we don't have anything with regard to that. And therein lies a bigger problem. What happened to those emails? And wouldn't that be a violation of the requirement that when you're in the White House, all communications are supposed to be saved and in the possession of the National Archives? Does the archives know about Robert J. Peters, Robin Ware, and J.R.B. Ware? I don't know. Robin, of course, I can understand where you came up with Robin because his middle name is Robinette. Robert Peters. I don't know. Here's another version of the story. In a dramatic shift in the Biden family corruption probe, House investigators on Thursday demanded full access to the National Archives to Joe Biden's communications as vice president with his son Hunter and his business partners. The demand came after the House Oversight Committee unearthed an email showing a White House staffer communicated plans for a phone call with Ukraine's president to Joe Biden on a private email account in 2016 and copied Hunter Biden, an unusual backdoor for sensitive conversations with a foreign leader. The committee's need for these vice presidential records is specific and well documented. Chairman James Comer wrote Colleen Shogam, the head of the National Archives. The committee seeks to craft legislative solutions aimed at deficiencies it has identified in the current legal framework regarding ethics laws and disclosure of financial interest related to the immediate family members of vice president and presidents. Deficiencies that may place American national security interests at risk. Well, I think he's got a good point. How does this happen? How in the world does this kind of stuff slip through the cracks? So this is a new development, and I suspect what you're going to hear is NARA's going to come back and say, well, we found 3, or we found none, or we don't know anything about Robert Peters, Robin Ware, or J.R.B. Ware. Don't have anything on that. But I suspect Comer is not saying everything that he knows. I suspect Comer has a lot of, where did they come up with these names? How do they know? I suspect that, this is Comer not so much doing a fishing expedition, but trying to find out whether or not the former vice president, now president of the United States, was adhering to the law with regard to presidential communications and emails. All emails that go to and from a vice president are supposed to be secured. So there's that. We're watching that one. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens on that. Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, she serves on the Oversight Committee. And in the Washington Examiner, she's got a story there's a story quoting her that says that the amount of money laundering the House Oversight Committee has allegedly uncovered in its investigation of the family of President Joe Biden is quote-unquote mind-blowing. Mace vowed that the committee will continue to show the facts surrounding the Biden family, as a recent poll shows more adults believe the president's son, Hunter Biden, did something illegal. The congresswoman said they will not stop until every single American knows what happens. We have to continue showing the facts. The mainstream media and the left want you to think this is the kind of behavior that is normal. There is nothing normal about selling out your country for mind-boggling amounts of money. And the more the American people learn, the less they trust. They know the Republicans are telling the truth. I'm not going to stop until 100% of Americans know the truth and know what happened to the Biden family and about the amount and the level of corruption. This will be one of the most corrupt presidencies in United States history when we are done with it. And we shouldn't stop until every single American knows exactly what happened. You know, what's interesting is I remember back in the days when Barack Obama was the president and Joe Biden was the vice president. I was in Washington back during some of those days. And I'm telling you, well, I was back during all of those days. And what I'm telling you is that there was often this smugness about the Obama people and how they look down their noses and say, look, no drama, Obama. We don't have any scandals. Got through 8 years, no scandals. Here's the scandal. How in the world is it that this was going on underneath the nose of President Obama without him knowing it? I think it is going to be shocking. I think we're up, some people have said it's now somewhere around $50 million that went into the Biden family coffers. What were they selling? They were selling access to the big guy, or as he is sometimes known, apparently, Robert Peters. This thing, I can tell you one thing about Robert Peters. If they start digging around, this thing ain't going to peter out, that's for sure. Can I say that on the radio? I think I can.
You did. So.
Tell him. Oh, man, what a mess. And then finally, before we move on, was Weiss appointed special counsel legally? I mean, this seems to be a real question, but I can't get a definitive answer other than citing the law. It appears to me that he was not appointed. But here's a question. Somebody says, will the legal infirmity of this appointment undermine any cases that do show up to trial in the Hunter Biden case? If convicted, could Biden then challenge the appointment? The person who wrote this article, this editorial, said, I don't know. I'm certain if anybody really knows, but it's likely to come down to a judge's decision. So, he's special counsel. He's investigating Hunter Biden. But at the end of the day, was the appointment legal? That needs to be resolved pretty quick, because the one thing you don't want the special counsel to do is come up with something very quick, slip, slap, and then it goes, and then Hunter Biden could then slip out of it, whatever it is, by simply saying, well, the special counsel really doesn't have the authority to be a special counsel. Somebody's got to raise this, and somebody... How is it that the Attorney General of the United States has not read the law on this? We got to stay on this part of the story. I don't know who's going to pick up the mantle on that. I've been shocked, stunned, and amazed that nobody has. Not in a big way. I mean, it's been pointed out. But you don't want to give somebody a special counsel that really, at the end of the day, whatever comes of it, they can simply have it all dismissed and thrown out because he wasn't really a special counsel. 23 minutes past the hour. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, oh, that thing that you need, it'll be ready at 4 o'clock, and then you get there and it's not. People are really tired of that kind of stuff. And if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, come to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you don't stand around and wait. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. Now, that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead as loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it's reliable. Eurofix, family owned for 24 years. 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
President Biden hosting an international summit tomorrow, and concerns about China building an airstrip on a South China Sea island and a drive-by shooting in Rutherford County. Those stories coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you much, Jay Harper. We got Chris Weber there in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons. Like to say hello to everyone that I met earlier this morning in Cool Springs. I went down there for a thing for Beacon Capital Management, and it was a lovely event. There were great cinnamon rolls, and the guys at Beacon took care of me, gave me a big chair.
Nice.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on a stage in a little tiny chair, and you can't, it just looks like you're sitting on top of something from kindergarten, and when you're my size. But it was much appreciated.
I see you didn't waste any time shedding the suit, though.
No, I got out of the suit, the suit and the tie. I not many days do I determine and declare something to be tie worthy.
Yeah.
But I thought this was tie worthy, and by the way, I love those guys over at Beacon. They're just the best. And then now I'm back home. I prepare for the show, and Cabana wife comes in. She's off today. Came in with a list of things that she's ready to take a little trip. She's going up to Michigan to spend some time with family, and I got a list right here of honeydews.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think there's anything that I didn't know needed to be done, but now it's all been written and it's got little hearts on it, makes it better, I guess.
Softens the blow a little bit.
Yeah, and then I thought, well, this is a list that'll keep me busy until she gets back. I mean, everything's written down, everything's got little hearts on it, and it's like water the flowers, do your laundry, unload the dishwasher, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then addendums are coming in by text message.
Yeah. Well, what you don't know is that's just today's list. Tomorrow's list will come tomorrow.
Did you finish your list? Well, good. Here's the list number 2. That's right.
Yeah.
It is now 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 3:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 87 degrees. We'll get that traffic and weather up to you here soon. President Biden will host his first international summit at Camp David tomorrow with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol. During his press briefing today, Brigadier General Patrick Ryder laid out what's expected between the three nations during tomorrow's meeting.
What we expect to see tomorrow will be significant outcomes that will cement our trilateral cooperation going forward. The deliverables that you'll see coming out of that will take that relationship to a new level.
The three are hoping to discuss relations in the region and growing tensions with North Korea and China. One of those reasons for the growing tensions, the U.S. concerned about China building what appears to be an airstrip on a disputed island in the South China Sea.
It is an island Vietnam, Taiwan, and China claim as their own in the South China Sea. Now China appears to be building a military airstrip there.
These kinds of activities undermine the peace and security of the region.
State Department spokesperson Vedant Patel.
Beijing has offered no coherent legal basis for its expansive maritime claims.
For now, the other nations are watching for China's next step.
That is ABC's Andy Field reporting. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office is sharing video of a drive-by shooting that happened on Tuesday where the suspect opened fire on a home. According to the Sheriff's Office, the shooting took place at about 8:30 in the morning on Tuesday as a car sped by a home on West Sagefield Drive near Smyrna. Multiple rounds were fired from the vehicle at the home by what police describe as 4 Hispanic men between the ages of 17 and 20. Thankfully, none of the residents inside the house were injured, and there is no other information currently available. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the Nashville Armory Ranges 2. Count them, 2 locations for your convenience. The Nashville Armory is at 4290 Kenilwood Drive in Nashville. 15,000 square feet, which combines retail, classrooms, and, of course, pistol and rifle-rated ranges. So you can learn, you can become proficient, and you can stay that way. The second location is the Franklin Range at 390 South Winds Drive. There you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automated target control and custom shooting stalls that provide a virtually private shooting experience. Now, the folks that work there, well, they pride themselves on hiring folks with enough expertise to advise even the most experienced shooters, but they also have the patience to guide those who are new to the 2A world, and you're not going to find any attitude, you're not going to find any pressure. Gunsmithing back at the Nashville Range. If you're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new and pre-owned firearms, suppressors, optics, apparel, shooting accessories. Look, this is the place where you can buy. It's the place to train. It's the place to become a really good shot. Learn more. Go to armoryranges.com, and please let them know your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. I'm Brian Wilson on this Thursday, the 17th day of August, and glad that you're with us. Hope we can get you home safely. Hope that we can inform you with some stuff that you didn't know about, and give you something to chat with the fam as you sit down to dinner a little bit later. That's my favorite things, when you walk in the door and say, you know what I just learned? Brian Wilson hasn't done his laundry. I mean, that's one thing that you may have learned.
He needs to unload the dishwasher.
He needs to unload the dishwasher. That's right. Oh, and I got another one. I got a text message. Find the robot.
Oh, the vacuum
Rosie,
cleaner?
The vacuum cleaner robot is missing. I mean, it has a place where it's supposed to be because it's supposed to go back there and unload and charge.
Didn't do it.
We can't find Rosie.
That's funny.
I don't know where it is. So I that got added to my list of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? We're crushing it here in Middle Tennessee. We're crushing it in Nashville as a tourism and entertainment destination. And I've got a story. I mean, the good folks over at WKRN Channel 2 came up with this story that I thought, well, they put together some interesting statistics. They're talking about just how strong our entertainment destination has been. According to the people who keep these statistics over at the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation, let me just run through some of the things that have generated big dollars for the Nashville area. First, you got your Visit Music City CMA Fest. That generated, are you ready? $74 million in 3 days. And it had more first-time and international attendees than last year. CMA Fest saw the number of hotel rooms increase 3% from last year. Hotel revenue increased by 7.4%. The average length of stay was, well, almost 5 nights, 4.9 nights, the way it averaged out. Then you got the 4th of July, the free concert and the fireworks show, Let Freedom Sing. How much, I mean, can you imagine how much this generated? $11.6 million in direct visitor spending. Another increase from the year before. An estimated 250,000, a 250,000 attendees came to Nashville for the event, driving hotel demand to an 8% increase over last year. Well, that's great. That means that, post-COVID, people are really starting to come back in a big way to Music City. Oh, but wait, there's more. Tay-Tay, Taylor Swift, the early May 3-night stand for the Eras Tour at Nissan Stadium amassed nearly 212,000 people in total. I mean, that's a lot of people over 3 nights. 212,000 people. And here is a shocking statistic. Hotel occupancy was near capacity all 3 nights. Notably, 96% capacity was reached on May 6th. I mean, that's virtually unheard of. We got more hotel rooms in this town than you can shake a stick at. It's very rare that many of them are actually booked. But I think, as I recall, there were some other things going on there beyond Taylor Swift, weren't there as well? I think so.
May have been.
I just have a memory of that. I can't remember what it was. All right. Well, that's pretty good. Ed Sheeran set an attendance record at Nissan Stadium with 73,874 fans on July 22nd, which broke the previous record that had been set just a few days before by Taylor Swift. The daily occupancy in the county was at 91% on when Ed Sheeran was in town. 91%. That's up 15% year over year. And then, oh, but wait, there's more. George Strait performed with Chris Stapleton for 2 sold-out nights at Nissan. And hotel rooms and the demand for the 2 nights was just as strong as it was during the Swift weekend. The world's eyes were also on Music City for the NHL Draft, which, according to ESPN, was the most viewed on record, 681,000 viewers. ESPN said average viewership increased 49% compared to the year before, and total viewership peaked around 903,000 viewers. SEC Media Days got college football fans excited for the year ahead. And let's see, the excitement is set to continue, writes the story, as the University of Tennessee plays the University of Virginia at Nissan Stadium on September 2nd, just before the Tennessee Titans return for a new season. Okay, so, I mean, the economy, I mean, look, I think we all can agree that, during the pandemic, our entertainment district really took a hit. The hotels really took a hit. But at the end of the day, it seems like we are back to where we were, and all people want to come to Nashville. And I think that there'll be a big turnout starting today in Lebanon. Wilson County Fair starts today. The fair is bigger and better than ever, according to the RutherfordSource.com. The theme is 95 Reasons to Celebrate Tennessee. All roads lead to Tennessee. The roads coming from this year's agriculture focus being, in case you did not know, in the state of Tennessee, it's the year of corn.
I did not know that.
You didn't know. You know what my favorite new corn is? Peaches and cream corn. Have you had that?
What?
I don't know. I've started, the last few times Cabana Wife has done corn on the cob, which, by the way, I learned all my life. What do you do when you cook corn on the cob? You put it in a pan of water.
Boil it, yeah.
And you boil it.
Yeah.
No.
You don't.
You put it in a pan of milk.
Really?
It makes all the difference in the world.
Huh.
See, these are the things I learned from Cabana Wife. She knows these things. But no, I think I'm getting this right. Peaches and cream corn.
I've never heard of that.
I see the signs up, and I don't know, but apparently, I'm telling you, it's pretty good stuff.
Apparently it's called that because of its color.
I don't know, but it's tasty, especially the way Cabana Wife makes it. She puts it, she soaks it and then cooks it in milk.
It does sound good.
I'm telling you, I never knew there was a better way to do corn than just to, I mean, for me, you just put it in a pan of water and you butter it, salt it.
Yeah.
And then I
eat it.
And boy, then I like to go through there and
like a machine.
Just get row after row. When I pick up a corn on cob, I don't put it down until it's done.
That's the only way to do it. Yeah.
I love this, and I'd never heard of it.
Well, apparently it's a hybrid. It's a bicolor, so it's sweet corn. It's a yellow and a white corn mix. It's a hybrid.
Is that right?
So it's a little bit of yellow corn, a little bit of white corn.
Well, but tell me if you see anything out there that recommends that corn on the cob should be cooked in milk.
Let's see.
See, because I'm telling you that makes all the difference in the world. If you haven't tried it, you really should. All right, so there we go.
Yep, best way to cook corn on the cob. There it is. I've never heard of that.
Am I just way behind, or I mean, am I? Maybe people have known about this all my life, and I just have somehow been left out of all of the secrets to cooking good corn on the cob in my life. Yeah. I don't know.
It says no need to even slather butter all over it. Starting.
Well, no, that's not going to. You can't not put butter on corn on the cob, because what else holds the salt and pepper on?
That's true. Yeah. I'm going to have to try this.
Yeah.
Cook it with milk. All right.
Anyway, the fair is going on. 150 events and all kinds of good stuff. And I'm wondering if there'll be a cow made of butter. That's the thing that I want to know.
Maybe a cow made of corn, for all we know.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about this. As long as we're doing Tennessee, news that is important to people in Middle Tennessee. I am falling in love with my hummingbirds. You've seen my little back porch, my little, out there in the pool area.
Yeah.
And apparently, there was a hook. We've only had the house for almost just a little over a year, I think it is now. And there was a hook, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So we put a hummingbird feeder up there. Well, I mean, apparently there had been a hummingbird feeder there by the previous owners. Mm-hmm. And the hummingbirds, man, they were back on it like crazy. And so we got all these hummingbirds, and I can't get enough of watching the hummingbirds in the evening, zipping in, zipping out. I told the story the other day. I'm sitting in, there, and the hummingbird apparently comes into the area where we sit and buzzed Cabana Wife a couple of times, then went back to where the feeder was. It was empty. The hummingbird was alerting Cabana Wife, hey, you're slacking here.
Excuse me.
We need some more sugar water. Would you put that in there?
Can I get a refill, please?
Yeah, apparently we're getting close to the peak of migration season from the end of August to early September. And one of the most important things for hummingbirds this time of year is storing fat because they're about to make their way south and they need extra food for traveling. In the spring, they are rushing north to make it to the breeding grounds. And at this time of year, they apparently are getting ready to go back south. And the extra fat they store will help them make it to their destination.
I didn't know they migrated.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I think they go across the Gulf into South America, some of them. So put your feeders out, make sure they're clean. No dye. No
That's
dye.
right. Yeah, they don't need to
put any
color.
dye. We don't need to color the hummingbirds. And then the other thing is that if you have native plants, because in addition to eating nectar, hummingbirds, did not know this. How can they do this? I look at their little beaks. I can't imagine this happening. Apparently they love bugs. How can you eat bugs when you have a snout like that?
Some small bugs.
Yeah, I guess they're little tiny bugs. But they say, if you have native plants, you'll have insects, and that means don't use any pesticides in your yard this time of year because you get the bugs and then it gets passed on to the hummers. I love my hummingbird. I mean, it's just, for me, it's completely relaxing. I know, just watch it. That's right. It's amazing. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Busy bee when you need heat or cold AC. And right now it's about the AC, isn't it? Is your AC working? Did it go out? Call this number. Don't waste a moment. 615-775-7833. And the folks at Busy Bee will be dispatched to buzz to your hive, and then they will fix whatever is ailing your system. If you are at the point, this thing, it's been on its last leg for a while, and now we got to do something about it, and you need to replace it, because they don't last forever. You're not going to find a better value on HVAC and plumbing replacement systems. I think you should become a member of the Beehive Club, $99. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7, 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833. Learn more by going online at busybeehvac.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have 2 things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
While the death toll continues to rise, fires are still burning on Maui. And Canadian firefighters, they're still battling over 1,000 blazes there. Those stories and more coming up at 4. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you very much, Jay. Let's look at the markets right now. The markets closed a short while ago. Dow Jones Industrials down almost 300 points, 290. S&P down 33, NASDAQ down 157. That's a little over 1%. So all major indices are vibrantly red today. What's driving all this, and what I guess everybody's looking for, John Maxon, is what's going to happen with interest rates as we go forward. John Maxon, of course, is with Beacon Capital Management. What's your thought on that, John?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Brian, another negative day on the market, and there seems to be a lot of concern about the Federal Reserve's July meeting minutes. And there are really two things that came out of that, and you're exactly right about the interest rates. The two things were that rates may have to go higher. There's still a real concern about inflation. And not only that rates may have to go higher, but they may have to go higher and stay there for longer than anyone would like to see. And that's why you're seeing like long-dated treasuries are at the highest point they've really been today since the financial crisis. And that's always going to weigh on the market when you have higher interest rates like that and the cost of capital. So we'll see as this continues to develop over the next several weeks. All
right. Again, Byes, great event you had there today in Cool Springs. I enjoyed being there. Thanks a lot for having me. Let me just mention that you can find out about all the things that Beacon Capital Management can do for you by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 59 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It's 4:01 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sun and 86 degrees. We'll get the weather and the latest traffic report to you here in just a few minutes. The grand jurors who handed up the indictment against former President Trump in Georgia are apparently being threatened.
Personal information of the Fulton County grand jurors is being shared online, and the sheriff now says he's working to track down the origin of threats. The sheriff also says he's taking these threats seriously and will respond to anything credible. The grand jury returned a 41-count indictment naming Trump and 18 co-defendants. Last week, a Texas woman was arrested over threats to kill the judge assigned to Trump's federal case in Washington, D.C. Trump himself has used social media to attack judges, prosecutors, and witnesses involved in all 4 of his prosecutions.
That's ABC's Aaron Katursky reporting. 1 week after the wildfires consumed so many homes on the Hawaiian island of Maui, many thousands are displaced. More than 1,000 people are still missing. And currently, they have at least 100 people, actually more than 100 people, are confirmed dead. ABC's Melissa Adan is in the district of Kula on the island of Maui and tells us there are still fires burning there.
When you're looking at how the firefighters are surrounding the fires, that is what basically identifies the containment levels. So the county of Maui has been sharing their updates. For the Kula fire here, they're saying this is 80% contained. But what they also decided to do is that they separated an area here about 200 to 300 acres on top of another neighboring city called Olinda. 1,000 acres there also burned. That is 85% contained.
About a month or so ago, I'm sure many of you remember that we were dealing with a lot of haze and smoke from those Canadian wildfires. Well, those fires still a problem in Canada. As the residents continue to evacuate the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories from an incoming wildfire today, fire officials continue to grapple with the impact of Canada's most devastating fire season ever. ABC's meteorologist Melissa Griffin has more on this story.
So far this year, over 6 times the amount of land has burned in Canada compared to the year-to-date average. Currently, the acreage burned is more than 600% of normal. The national preparedness level in Canada has been at its highest level. That means 5 out of 5 since May 11, 2023. That's more than 3 months. Back in late July, numerous wildfires even broke out as far north as Canada's Arctic Circle.
President Biden hosting his first international summit at Camp David tomorrow. He's invited Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, along with South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, to attend. During his press briefing today, Brigadier General Patrick Ryder laid out what is expected between the 3 nations during tomorrow's meeting.
What we expect to see tomorrow will be significant outcomes that will cement our trilateral cooperation going forward. The deliverables that you'll see coming out of that will take that relationship to a new level.
Among other things, the 3 are hoping to discuss relations in the region and the growing tensions with North Korea and China. That is the latest news. We've got traffic, we've got weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper for WTN News.
It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair. On this Thursday, August 17th, hour number 2, we're going to get you home safely and give you a lot of things to think about, hopefully, as we go down the pathway. And because we're talk radio and we have phones, we're not afraid to use them, and we hope that you aren't either. But we're gonna open up the phone lines here for a specific question. And it's 615-737-9986. What do you make of Vivek Ramaswamy? I mean, it wasn't long ago when we were trying to figure out how to pronounce the guy's name. And all of a sudden, according to a new Fox News poll, he's starting to gain some momentum and break from the pack of well, let's just be honest about it. I mean, Trump, according to Fox News, has 53% of the vote locked up among Republicans. And DeSantis is at 16. So Trump leads DeSantis by 37. But number 3 above, this cast of thousands is Ramaswamy. He's coming out of nowhere. And so I'd like to know what you think about him. And I'm going to play for you a clip that's been sort of gone viral. And I think my personal take on this is, number one, I've never heard anybody in recent years who was better on the fly and expressing what it is they wanted to get across. And he was out making a campaign appearance somewhere. I guess it was in Iowa, and this person came up and said, "Well, tell me, what you think about people who are, same-sex couples." And this woman identified herself as being pansexual. And, this could be a dangerous thing. You don't want to get into a shouting match. I don't think I've ever heard anybody handle it more beautifully, nor have I ever heard anybody who expressed sort of how I feel about the whole thing, saying that, we don't have a problem with you as an individual. I mean, we always hear people say who are LGBTQ, we want to be respected. Well, I mean, I have no problem with the respect part of that, but I think there is an issue. And Ramaswamy put words to it in sort of a beautiful way that disarmed the individual, and they had a very civil conversation, which is, I think, what we need in America right now. If you haven't heard it, here is that clip, and then we'll get into what do you think about Ramaswamy.
I was just wondering, what were your opinions on the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I don't think it's one community.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, how could it be? You just mash together an alphabet soup. Trans is fundamentally in tension with gay, if you ask me. But what's your opinion?
I'm personally pansexual, so I was just wondering what your views on same-sex couples were.
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority, we have now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the majority, created a new tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression. And so I believe that we live in a country where free adults should be free to dress how they want, behave how they want, and that's fine. But you don't become oppressive by foisting that on others. And that especially includes kids, because kids aren't the same as adults. And so I think adults are free to make whatever choices they want, but do not foist that ideology onto children before children are in a position as adults to make decisions for themselves. And so I think a lot of the frustration in the country, and if I'm being really honest, that I also share, comes from that new culture of oppression where saying those things can actually get somebody punished. And in my case, it's part of why it's my responsibility to say them. And I respect that you may have a different opinion, and that's okay. Part of what makes our country great is that you and I can be civil and have this conversation, and that we live in a country that still gives us, each of us, the right to speak to a presidential candidate and back, and still say that we pledge allegiance to the same nation. So I think that's the beauty of our country, and that's my honest opinion.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your civility as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a could have been a troublesome encounter turned into a a complete civil conversation where the guy laid out, said, I don't have any issue with you. I have an issue with some of the other things here and what he calls the tyranny of the minority. Brilliant way to handle it, I think. And a guy who seems to be as good on the fly as anybody I've seen now finds himself, according to Fox News, in third place in this this cast of thousands that we have now running for the Republican nomination. I mean, clearly Trump's still in the lead. DeSantis still very solidly number 2, although he's 39 points. I'm sorry, let's make that 37 points behind Trump in the Fox poll. But here comes Ramaswamy. And I don't know, what do you think about this guy? What do you make of him? I don't know about you, but one way or the other, he's caught my attention in a way that I didn't expect to happen. I thought, well, Ramaswamy, we'll never hear much out of this guy. Turned out to be wrong. He's making an imprint, it seems. Robert in Murfreesboro. Robert, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Robert?
Well, Ramaswamy is fun to listen to, but that's nothing more than Obama as a Republican. And that woman, that was a complete setup. Come on, man. There's no way anybody in that LGB alphabet soup community asks that question and accepts that answer. That's not real. That was
you don't think it's real? You think it was all set up? You said it's all set up, right?
Yes. Oh, come on. Have you ever seen an LGBTQ, whatever the hell they are, actually ask a question like that, get an answer like that, and then say, oh, okay, well, that's great. We respect each other. That bunch doesn't respect anybody. I'm sorry. It's just to me, it has the ring of authenticity, Robert, but I respect your opinion as well. Let's see what else other people think. Heather in Nashville. Heather, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Well, I really like Vivek. The things I've heard him discuss, I agree with. I think he speaks well, and I think you're right. He's good on the fly. That's the first time I've heard that, and I don't think that was a setup. I think that was, probably a real conversation that he had, and I like the way he handled it. I heard him the other day talking about something that probably won't ever happen, but he said he thought that voters between the age of 18 and 25 should have to pass like a civics exam, the same one that new citizens have to pass. And I think that's a fantastic idea, instead of just blindly, being led to vote for somebody through, means that they're, being enticed to do or something. So I like everything you said. I think Trump will use him in his administration.
Well, listen, I'm not trying to push the guy, and I'm not saying that, that I just think it's interesting because, really, honestly, we're going to have this big debate here in a few days. And I don't think Trump's going to be there. I'd be surprised if he shows up. So it's really, looking at a whole other cast of candidates, and probably, somewhere in there might be a vice presidential hopeful. But something has happened where the guy is starting to sort of, it's still very early, but starting to break out of the pack. I mean, he's got double the numbers of Pence, more numbers. He's got, he's way ahead of Haley, Scott, Christie, and a whole host of other people who, barely even show up on some of these polls. So something has caught the attention of the Republican voter, it would seem, that's starting to get picked up on these polls. Again, very early. I just seem to get the sense that there's some people are listening to Ramaswamy, and obviously they're favorably impressed because it's showing up in the polling data in a way where it wasn't. I mean, the guy started at below zero, if that's possible, and has started to, start to connect. Again, not pushing the guy, just simply want to know what you think it is that's driving this, and does he interest you? Myrtle in Dixon County. Myrtle, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Well, I think he's just like the flavor of the month. And if he keeps singing Eminem songs, he won't even be that. He'll drop down to about 50.
I know. Yeah, that was another thing that he did. He broke into some rap, which, it may not be your thing. It may not be my thing, but it resonated with a lot of people. Mike in South Pittsburgh, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Hey, Brian.
Hey, go ahead, man.
Hey, well, if Ramaswamy is not related to Obama-Swamy, I think that he may be good for America. But time will tell. I need a lot more research to make my decision. But it is what it is.
All right. Well, let me ask you this question, because clearly, the guy that is so far ahead of this thing, it doesn't seem even like there's a question who will be the nominee, is right now Donald Trump. But it is interesting that a guy comes out of, starts out at zero. We were all looking around, who is this guy? And I remember it wasn't too long ago, we were all trying to figure out how to say his name. And now all of a sudden he is apparently starting to capture the attention of some people in the polling data. I'm just sort of curious as to, your thought of what we are to make of all of this. Barry in Lebanon. Barry, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Barry?
Hey, Brian, how you doing? I appreciate your show.
All right, thank you, man. What's your thought?
I have been following Ramaswamy for about 6 or 8 weeks. I try to stay on top of things and get as much information as I can. But I tell you what, I think this guy is legitimate. I really do. And I am a Trump supporter and have been since the beginning. But going forward, I don't think if Trump gets in there, I just don't think that he's going to be able to do what he wants to do, because I think they have indictments stored away to throw at him at any given point.
Yeah, well, it's beginning to look that way. I think I read somewhere today that there are 91 different things pending against him. But go ahead. Do you think Ramaswamy, would you consider him as a vice presidential running mate? Would he make a good number two?
Well, in a couple of interviews that I've watched with him, he has definitely said that's not what he wants to do. Now, anybody can change their mind. You never know. But just watching him, and I think listening to him, I think his heart's in the right place. I don't think it's just talking points. I really think it's the way he feels.
Well, let me, you say, again, I understand what you're saying here, but as a vice presidential running mate, I'm wondering if it's something that he would, I've heard Trump speak very positively about it. So, I don't see him taking over the lead by any stretch of the imagination. But when you see somebody come out of nothing and the next thing you know, now they're starting to register and the numbers seem to be growing pretty quickly, you got to ask a question. What's that all about? David in Macon County, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, David?
Yeah. Hey, Brian. This Ramaswamy guy, he seemed like a nice enough guy. I'm like the lady that called a few callers back. He would make a good cabinet position in the Trump administration. I do not believe, though, I believe he's an upstanding guy. He's not scum like Chris Christie and Pitts and some of them people. But really, right now, on account of what happened almost 4 years ago and what they're throwing at President Trump, what all these guys need to do, in my belief, is get out. Every day they stay in, that's a day they give to the Biden crime family. Every dollar they spend, that's a dollar that they're helping the Democrats win. They all need to get out, get behind President Trump, show America that we're united, and maybe we can take down this imposter in chief that we got. All right.
Well, listen, I want to be sure everybody understands where I am on this. I want to be absolutely clear on this. I don't think that there's anything that suggests that Ramaswamy is the guy, because it seems that Trump clearly has the support of most of the Republicans. The numbers are just overwhelming. Honestly, I can't. If I'm Trump, I just sit there and ride that lead as far as I can take it. He's up 37, 38, 39, somewhere 40 points in some polls. So that's, I don't see anything that challenges Trump. But I do think it's interesting as we look around the party and to find out who's going to be our leaders is, to find out, what is going on with Ramaswamy that seems to be registering with at least some Republicans. That's it. 23, way over, 23 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Law enforcement officials say threats have been made related to the indictment of former President Donald Trump. We'll have that story, and we'll also have today's money news. Those stories coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Just a few moments till we get to the news with Jay Harper, but let's take a couple of more calls. We're talking about Ramaswamy, who is making a sort of his presence known in the newest of Fox polls. I mean, look, it's runaway Trump. DeSantis is behind him by 37 points, and then there's Ramaswamy. But I mean, but this is a guy that I think, if I'd have asked you 6 months ago, who is Ramaswamy, you wouldn't have known. It wouldn't have registered with you. So what do you make of the fact that the guy does seem to be sort of gaining at least a little bit of ground? And what do you think about him as a potential maybe member of the cabinet, running mate, etc.? Sean and Donaldson, you're up next on The Drive. Hello, Sean. What do you think?
Are you talking to John and Donaldson?
I'm sorry, I thought it was Sean, but John, go ahead.
It's okay. All right. I want to preface by saying I'm a staunch Trump supporter. I had dealings with him and met him several times back in '95. He is a good guy. Ramaswamy, I think he is extremely articulate, very intelligent, very clear and critical thinking. I like him a lot, and I think he's going to have a difficult time in the South, in our area of the country, because we are like the American seat of xenophobia. And judging by a couple of callers we've had in the past 10 minutes, that's become very, very evident because the guy's ancestors didn't come over on the Mayflower, and his last name ends in a vowel. I think that's going to cause a problem. Still, my guy is Trump, but that's how I feel about Ramaswamy.
I'm not making any suggestion that Trump is not the guy with a very hefty lead. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. It is now 30 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine. We're back up to that 87 degrees, a complete forecast, and the latest traffic report are upcoming. Law enforcement officials say threats have been made related to the indictment of former President Donald Trump. Here's that story.
It's the law in Georgia that grand jurors' identities are public record. When the Trump indictment was posted, their names were too. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office says it's aware that jurors' information's been circulating online, and the agency says it's working to track down the origins of threats. The FBI says it's looking into threats of violence against county officials.
That's ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. Here's the closing news for our Money Report with Chuck Siverston.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Major indexes ended lower for the third straight day. Investors reacting to the minutes from the latest Federal Reserve policy meeting, which show committee members remain focused on reining in inflation but are also unsure of their next moves. The Dow fell 291 points. The S&P dropped 34. The Nasdaq shed 158, or more than 1%. Apple alone fell 1.6%, with Meta and Tesla dropping more than 2% each. A rise in bond yields is forcing a reassessment of how much to pay for stocks. Walmart posted a strong second quarter sales result. Mortgage rates on a 30-year loan are now above 7%, reaching their highest level in more than 2 decades. 27 Boston market restaurants have been temporarily closed in New Jersey. State labor officials say $600,000 in back wages are owed to over 300 employees. More than 1.5 million dehumidifiers being recalled. Reports of nearly 24 fires.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Grace Point. They deliver medicine affordably with a menu-style transparent pricing, so you'll know how much things will cost before the health care is actually delivered. Smart Care plans start at just $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits, free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. Now, you marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868, to schedule a visit. "37 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair, and hour number 2 of our extravaganza. And we're really glad that you're with us here on this Thursday, August 17th. What is the temperature? Well, it seemed like a pretty nice day today when I was out. It didn't seem too oppressive.
Yeah, it's a little warmer than the last couple of days, but still mid-80s. That's pretty good for middle of August.
All right. Well, let's talk about, what we like to call here, and I have to make sure I have the right buttons in. Let's call it 2024 update because, we have the music and we can just do that. Listen, we've got a big debate coming up next week on Fox News. The question is, how many people are going to be there? Donald Trump, I don't think is likely going to be one of them because why? I mean, like I was just talking in the previous half hour, we got a situation where Donald Trump, according to Fox News, has already got 53% of the Republican support. And the nearest competitor would be DeSantis, and Trump leads him by 37 points. What? There's no advantage to Donald Trump going to the debate and being a part of that. It just becomes, everybody goes after him, and they probably will anyway. But it doesn't matter because, a lot of people in the Republican side of the equation have made up their mind, and they are bound and determined that Trump will become the nominee. And the numbers are just very clear on that. But as that happens, the question is, what will happen in this debate? And Trump has lashed out at Fox News as this debate decision looms. I mean, honestly, I don't know that there's any decision to be made. In two separate posts on Truth Social, Trump hit Fox News for not showing polls where I am beating Biden, using an unflattering photograph of him and having Attorney General Bill Barr on as a guest. He was just on a short time ago. He says, why doesn't Fox and friends show the polls where I am beating Biden by a lot? They just won't do it. Also, they purposely show the absolute worst pictures of me, especially the big orange one with my chin pulled way back. They think they're getting away with something, and they're not, just like 2016 all over again, and then they want me to debate, he said, referencing the upcoming debate, which he is yet to announce a final decision on. So in a later post, he wrote, why does Fox News constantly put on slow-thinking and lethargic Bill Barr, who didn't have the courage or stamina to fight for the radical left lunatics when he was AG, fight the radical left lunatics when he was AG, and who even more importantly refused to fight election fraud? He knew what was going on. Just look at his past remarks. Unless Fox News starts putting on the right people, their ratings will never recover. Well, I don't know whether I can, answer that, except that I have seen polls, I've seen numbers that suggest, although they have lost some viewers, I guess is the right word, with the Tucker Carlson being let go, that their numbers have started to recover. That's what I'm seeing. So there's that. There was no comment by Fox about this, but apparently Trump, lashing out at Fox News. I just can't imagine a scenario where it makes sense for him to be a part of this debate. I just don't see it. And if you're Donald Trump and your nearest competitor is 37 points behind you, what would be gained by going on that stage? You're only giving them a bigger platform to take their attacks against you. I can't imagine a scenario. If I'm wrong, and then then I'll have to admit it later. But I just don't see it happening. I don't imagine it is. Independents, according to Fox17.com, I found this story there. Were the 2024 presidential election to take place today, between the leading candidates of each political party, independents may be the ones to cast the deciding vote, according to a new poll. Both former President Donald Trump, the current Republican Party polling leader, and President Joe Biden, the Democrat favorite, share nearly identical support from voters. A survey published Wednesday by Marist Poll shows, however, independents favor Trump by 8 points more than Biden, a margin that could decide the election, according to the results. In a hypothetical 2024 general election contest, it would come in right now, if you were to put Trump against Biden, some of the polls say somewhere around, Trump 46, Biden 47. Sometimes it goes the other way. They're closely matched among registered voters. Nationally, Trump is 8 points above Biden when it comes to independents. And, you've heard my lecture on this. You cannot win a national election without having the independents. And having the independents now looking more favorably at Trump than they do Biden is a really positive thing. The survey, which gathered opinions from 1,220 U.S. adults of legal voting age, also found that Republicans have remained undeterred by looming legal trouble with the Trump indictment. 66% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents say Trump is the guy. Nearly 2 in 3 Republicans and a Republican-leaning independent, 65%, say they plan to support Donald Trump in 2024, up from 58% a few weeks ago. That number, its numbers continue to get strong. You indict him, and it doesn't matter. He just comes back stronger.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
All across the parties, respondents felt strongly that shared governance is in danger in the United States, with only 12% believing that the future of democracy is not threatened by the issues that divide the nation. Wow. So there you go. Independents liking what they're seeing so far, and if indeed you need independents to win a national election, a lot of people don't think you do, but you do. And if you need them, well, the good news is, right now, the way it stands, none of the stuff that's being thrown at Trump seems to be bothering the independents, in that they look at Biden, they look at Trump, and they go, well, I can go with Trump. I think I'm going to go with Trump. 8 points better than the numbers the independents now give to Joe Biden, which I think is pretty interesting. All right, Kamala Harris. This story I found in the Washington Examiner. Laugh all she wants, but Vice President Kamala Harris can't overcome just how terrible voters think she is at the job. When Rasmussen reports asked likely voters, is she doing a better job or a worse job than previous vice presidents? Her poor showing demonstrated that some Democrats and liberal media outlets are urging Biden to replace her on his reelection ticket. According to a new survey shared with, this is from the Secrets column, 50% said she is worse than most previous vice presidents. Only 22% said better. 24% said they didn't see any difference. The difference, however, could have an impact on President Joe Biden's reelection. Rasmussen asked if the former California senator is helping or hurting his chances, and by a margin of 33 to 22%, voters said she is hurting him more than helping him. Notably, and maybe more damaging to her reputation, 41% said Harris made no difference. I think the Harris thing, honestly, gets to be sort of a hard thing to predict. But what I think is, as Joe Biden gets out there more, and he's not going to get out there much, but as he gets out there and continues to flounder, people have to start thinking, well, if something were to happen, God forbid, to the current president of the United States, is this what we have to look forward to? I mean, how many times have we played these segments that we call Deep Thoughts with Kamala Harris, where she starts to talk in nonsensical circles? You remember, like this.
So I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past but the future.
She loves that see the moment. You got to be able to see the moment, she says.
But let's always take a moment to also see what we have achieved thus far, while we clearly see the moment that we are presently in. So we have achieved a lot.
That answers it, doesn't it? That's why nobody takes her seriously, because she comes across like a blithering idiot. Not to put too fine a point on it. So, look, I look at all these numbers, and I'm feeling really good about where things stand right now. Of course, it's August. We haven't even gotten to, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Super Tuesday. But all of that going on right now, if you had to look at it and say, well, what's going to happen? Republican side of the equation, I don't see anything that changes Trump being the nominee. Trump will be the nominee. I suspect that somebody that's out there that's, also running for the nomination, is really they're running to be sort of seen, to raise their profile, so that Trump might consider them for, either a place on the cabinet or as running mate. He has spoken positively about Tim Scott and also about Ramaswamy. I heard him the other day say nice things about him. By the way, Trump's in town today. Did you know that? I mean, I never got my invitation, but apparently there was a fundraiser, and it's a private fundraiser, and he came into town for it. So, former President Trump, hello, if you're listening. Give us a call, 615-737-9986. We have some questions. Love to have that conversation with you. Love to know, actually, anybody who's, going to this thing, tell me more about it. I'd like to know more about it. But Kamala Harris, Trump, he's clearly the nominee on the Republican side. I don't see anything changing that. You can throw everything you want to throw at him. You can throw 91 indictments at him. It just doesn't matter. The Republicans love Trump, and they're sticking by him in huge numbers. Everybody else who's running is running either for, to be considered for the vice president or just to raise their profile in general. And I think that there's some good people out there doing that, but they're not going to beat Trump. And then when you look at the Democrat side of the equation, I am still absolutely convinced that Joe Biden will not be the nominee. I think that they will not make him the nominee somehow, and I don't know how. I don't know how it's all going to come to fruition, but it seems to me that before we get into serious, campaigning and we're into primaries and that kind of stuff, something's going to happen that takes him and by extension Kamala out of contention, and somebody else will emerge. Who that is, I'm not quite sure yet. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up, because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
An update on the Hawaiian wildfire recovery efforts. A potential Georgia trial start date for former President Trump has been introduced, and concerns about Chinese activity in the South China Sea. Those stories and more coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Just a moment or two left here before we have to break to go do the news here in a moment. But Warner Brothers Pictures says that the Barbie movie continues to break box office records and is now the U.S. film studio's highest grossing domestic release ever. Has topped $541 million as of Thursday, passing up its predecessor, The Dark Knight, according to a box office data website. So there's no chance in hell that I'm going, but I just think it's interesting that a movie about Barbie, of all things, is breaking box office records. Who would have thunk it? It is 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, let's talk about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Not only do I do their ads, I'm also a patient. Dr. Kevin Mitchell is my doctor. He can be your doctor as well. And all you got to do is pick up the phone and call and set an appointment. 615-246-5009. Again, 615-246-5009. Let me tell you a little bit about what they do there. And one of the things that I think really can be very helpful is this therapy that they call non-surgical spinal decompression. You know, we've talked about that all the time. It can help you if you have arm, leg, neck, back, lower back issues. You have tingling in your extremities. These things can all be made better through the application of non-surgical spinal decompression. And now, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell offer the first of its kind KT machine. It's like spinal decompression aimed at your knee. Now, the idea here is that it elongates the knee and the joint and allows the meniscus or the cartilage to heal and get the healing therapy without the need for surgery or painkillers. If you are a new patient, you should take advantage of the 2023 special. For $23, you get an exam, consultation, x-rays if needed. You will sit down with Dr. Kevin Mitchell, go over your condition, come up with a healing and therapy plan. But again, that's $23 if you are a new patient. It starts with a phone call. Excuse me, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Good evening. It is 5:01 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine and 87 degrees, a complete forecast, and the latest traffic report are on the way. The official number of dead from the Maui wildfires is now at 111. But one of the heads of the American Red Cross search efforts on Maui is calling the devastation a mass fatality operation. Alex Stone from ABC News is there.
Right along the road here in Lahaina, FEMA urban search and rescue teams in their blue uniforms and helmets with cadaver dogs are at work. They are moving through gutted, burned out buildings. I watched as what appeared to be members of the military with them moved low-hanging wires out of the way. It is a slow, methodical process going through these burned-out buildings looking for human remains.
There are still over 1,000 people missing. Fulton County's district attorney in Georgia today introduced a possible March trial start date for former President Trump, but with several other trials for the former president expected to begin in the coming months, it'll likely become a juggling act as the cases get underway.
Fani Willis said she was mindful that Trump faces a lot of legal entanglements, both civil and criminal. He's already supposed to be on trial in March here in New York. In the hush money case, he would have just come off of trial in all likelihood in the January 6th case in federal court in Washington, D.C. He's got one in May on classified documents, and there's no telling how long any of these last.
That's ABC's Aaron Katersky, who also reports that the potential start date for that Georgia trial is now March 4th. The U.S. is concerned about China building what it appears to be an airstrip on a disputed island in the South China Sea.
It is an island Vietnam, Taiwan, and China claim as their own in the South China Sea. Now China appears to be building a military airstrip there.
These kinds of activities undermine the peace and security of the region.
State Department spokesperson Vedant Patel.
Beijing has offered no coherent legal basis for its expansive maritime claims.
For now, the other nations are watching for China's next step.
That's ABC's Andy Field reporting. A Tennessee man accused in the shooting death of a 3-year-old child has been arrested in Tullahoma. The U.S. Marshal Service says 33-year-old Christopher Smith was taken into custody for the June 20th shooting in Memphis. Deputies with the Coffee County Sheriff's Office assisted marshals in the arrest. Further details regarding the child's death are not immediately available. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7, make it almost 8 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive for August 17th, and we're glad that you're with us. We're going to get a lot of stuff covered here today and get you home safely. That's the main thing today. I'd like to say thank you to my good friends over at Beacon Capital Management for having me down to Cool Springs earlier today for an event there where, when they met with a lot of people who were looking for good retirement advice, and they got it because they're good people. And I got to sort of lead a question and answer session and meet some people down that direction who listen to the program. So, again, a wonderful thing. I was deeply and personally touched. This never happens to me. I go to an event and say, well, can you be our master of ceremonies? Or could you lead a discussion? And, these are the things that, you do for your friends and for your clients. And so I never have a problem doing that. But almost never do I get a chair that's big enough for me.
Well, they're hard to come by.
Well, they are. I mean, first of all, I used to, but they gave me a chair for the big-butted man. I'm telling you, it was a great big old chair, and I felt comfortable. And of course, there were one big chair and 3 little chairs, sort of like Goldilocks. Anyway, one way or the other, it was a fun event, and it was good seeing all the guys down there and everybody that came up to say something. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate, you coming out to our event. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? Well, before I get deep into this, this next segment, we're going to talk about Biden and some shocking revelations that have just come forward. I just want to pass this on, Chris, because I know this is a story that you and I have talked about sometimes. I mean, we talk about electric vehicles. We talk about autonomous vehicles. It comes up all the time because I think there's going to be a time where a lot of cars on the road are not going to have a driver, and a lot of them are going to be electric cars. But you're going to love this. Driverless vehicles promise a future with less congestion and pollution, fewer accidents resulting from human error, and better mobility for people with disabilities. But every now and then, one of the cars runs into trouble in a way that casts a bit of doubt on the bold vision. So it was Tuesday in San Francisco, where a driverless car somehow drove into a city paving project and got stuck to the axles, buried to the axles in wet concrete.
Yikes.
Believe it or not, this person's name is Paul Harvey. Paul Harvey, 74, a retired contractor, lives in the city's western addition, took a photo of the car. All the roof-mounted sensors tipped slightly forward, its front wheels mired up to the axles in freshly poured concrete.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have driven through barricades, right? Certainly they had this, roped off somehow.
I think there were some pylons, little cones.
Cones, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, apparently there was nothing that suggested to all of the sensors attached to the top of the car that it was anything other than hardened concrete, not wet concrete. And I'm telling you, what a mess it is.
I bet. Man. Wow.
I wonder how long it took them to get that one out of the get that out of the concrete and get it back on the road.
And then they had to go back and fix the concrete.
Yeah. By the way, did your car just drive into my wet concrete? Yeah, we got to have a conversation. Let's have a hot minute about that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, we got some kinks to work out, I think, on the driverless cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's talk about the politics for a moment. And again, the investigation into Joe and Hunter Biden. It's really aimed at Joe Biden. The best thing that I've heard lately, the best assessment of what this is this that the Biden syndicate, Biden Incorporated, was really Joe Biden's business, and he was the product, but that Hunter Biden was the salesman. He's out there, doing the selling out there. And so, you got James Comer, the House Oversight Committee. You got Jim Jordan, who is, in the Judiciary Committee, and others out there conducting these investigations. And they're getting somewhere. But now comes this. In a dramatic shift in the Biden family corruption probe, House investigators on Thursday demanded full access to the National Archives, to Joe Biden's communications as vice president with his son Hunter and his business partners. The demand came after the House Oversight Committee unearthed an email showing a White House staffer communicated plans for a phone call with Ukraine's president to Joe Biden on a private email account in 2016, and then copied Hunter Biden. An unusual backdoor for sensitive conversations with a foreign leader. And he had, these were pseudonyms. Private emails with made-up names is what it was. And there you go. What is that all about? The committee needs these vice presidential records is specific and well documented. The committee seeks to craft legislative solutions aimed at deficiencies it has identified in the current legal framework regarding ethics laws and disclosures of financial interests related to the immediate families of vice presidents and presidents, deficiencies that may place American national security interests at risks. I mean, what we are told is one of the things that happens, and most often happens, is that a memo, from the Trump documents, they make the claim that, well, there are emails that detail the outcome of a communication with a world leader. I think almost all of those conversations, whether you're vice president or president, would be listed as very sensitive documents. And why in the world would you be using a back channel email account with fake names? So let me here's another version of the story that gets at the fake names. You ready? From Breitbart. James Comer demands the National Archives provide all documents for Vice President's secret pseudonym. What? Like, is it Joey Danger or something like that? No, these are complete pseudonyms, and apparently emails were sent to the Vice President using these names on private email accounts, which, as far as I know, is completely illegal. You're not supposed to be doing that. There aren't supposed to be back channel communications about important things going on. When you're the vice president of the United States, you're not supposed to be sending it to your private, account under the name Robert Peters or Robin Ware or J.R.B. Ware. J.R.B. Okay, so let's see. Robin, I could see where you come up with that because his middle name is Robinette. So Robin Ware, what's Ware all about? What is that reference? But then you got this other one, J.R.B., Joseph Robinette Biden Ware. And then who in the hell is Robert Peters? Well, one way or the other, the vice president, back during the Obama days, was receiving emails that had pretty high-level stuff on them to these secret accounts, and now the James Comer is going to the National Archives and saying, you got to provide these for me. Now, number one, if they provide a bunch of emails, the question becomes, what was he doing using private email to conduct the people's business? Because the National Archives are supposed to have everything. So why in the world were they not using their regular accounts? Why were they doing secretive stuff with secret accounts? That's one thing. The National Archives could come back and say, man, we don't have anything. Well, but we know that some of this stuff has happened. The reason that we know this is one email, which Comer says the committee has already seen, includes an attachment with the vice president's schedule indicating that he had spoken by phone to then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. The email was sent to a Robert L. Peters account, CC'd to the vice president's son, Hunter Biden. Joe Biden was the designated foreign policy point person on Ukraine during the Obama years. The House Oversight Committee argues that Joe Biden threatened to withhold U.S. aid to Ukraine in 2015. Well, we know he did. He's bragged about it. I mean, how many times have you heard the email?
Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
How many times have you heard that soundbite? Joe Biden was the designated foreign policy point person on Ukraine. The House Oversight Committee argues that Joe Biden threatened to withhold U.S. aid to Ukraine in 2015 until the president fired Viktor Shokin, a prosecutor who had jurisdictions for an investigation into the Ukrainian energy company Burisma. It was at this same time that Burisma paid Hunter Biden $83,000 a month for a board position to obtain the Biden brand, as a Biden business associate Devin Archer described the arrangement. And then years later, in this very famous soundbite now, Joe Biden actually bragged about the firing of Shokin. So understand, he's the point person on Ukraine. He said, you got to fire the prosecutor or you're not going to get $1 billion worth of loan guarantees. And they did fire the prosecutor. All of this happening while Hunter Biden was getting $83,000 a month to be on the Burisma board for no apparent reason, except that apparently you got access to daddy when you hired Hunter. So on Tuesday, Comer issued a request to the National Archives for all unredacted materials with relation to the pseudonyms that we've talked about, Robert L. Peters, and et cetera, the others. JRB Ware? Where did that one come from? Ware. If you get a bunch of stuff here that's been hiding in plain sight over at the National Archives, it could really open up a lot of things. If you don't get anything, we know that they were doing it, so why weren't all of the emails that were done behind the scenes using the private email accounts, how did they not end up at the National Archives as the law requires that they be sent there? And when you start talking about private emails and pseudonyms, all I can tell you is it starts to raise a lot of questions about what was going on there, but we knew there were already questions, and it just got a lot more suspicious, didn't it? 20 minutes now, past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. All right, it's about 5:20. You're headed home. You think, I want a steak, man. Well, of course. Why don't you just go to Legend Steakhouse? I mean, there are a bunch of different locations all over. Just go to legendsteakhouse.com for locations, online menu ordering. It's a local Tennessee company. It's been around for 34 years. But, the folks over at Legend Steakhouse want you to think about them in another way. And they think about them for lunch as well. They got a meat and two going. Comes with one meat, 2 country-cooked vegetables or casseroles served with cornbread and muffins or yeast rolls. The meats, well, we're talking about fried pork chops, Smoky Mountain meatloaf, fried catfish, slow-cooked pot roast with gravy. The vegetables and casseroles, we got all kinds of stuff to choose from, 14 different selections. Broccoli casserole, turnip greens, bourbon glazed apples, fried green tomatoes, potato casseroles, black-eyed peas. Now, you may say, man, that sounds like good old country home cooking. Well, that's what it is. These recipes actually came from Johnny's mom over 30 years ago. He borrowed the recipes and, well, he just never gave them back. Legend Steakhouse has multiple locations, good food at fair price, been in business for 34 years. Why don't you make a beeline to their website to find out more about where your nearest Legend Steakhouse is, find about locations. You can order online as well. You're going to love your next visit to Legend Steakhouse.
The ex-wife of a Microsoft executive is now charged in his murder. And a well-known Kansas City Chiefs NFL fan, well, he's been headed off at the pass. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Just a couple more things to talk about with regard to Joe Biden. Nancy Mace, who is a Republican from South Carolina, says that the amount of money laundering the House Oversight Committee has allegedly uncovered in its investigation into the family of President Joe Biden so far is somewhat mind-blowing. Mace vowed that the committee will continue to show the facts surrounding the Biden family, as a recent poll shows more adults believe the president's son Hunter did something illegal. The congresswoman has said they will not stop until every single American knows what happened. We have to continue showing the facts. The mainstream media and the left want you to think that this kind of behavior is normal. There is nothing normal about selling your country out for a mind-boggling amount of money. And the more the American people learn, the less they trust. They know the Republicans are telling the truth. I'm not going to stop until 100% of Americans know the truth and know what happened to the Biden family and the amount and level of corruption. This will be one of the most corrupt presidencies in the United States history when we are done with it. And we shouldn't stop until every single American knows exactly what happened. You know, it's interesting. We're in the middle of the August recess, and a lot of people who are in the middle of this investigation into Hunter Biden and by extension, Joe Biden, are sort of out of pocket. They're not in Washington, and you know, some people are traveling around the world. Some are traveling around their district or their state, and so they're not as available for interviews on things, and they've been relatively quiet in all of this stuff about appointing a special counsel, which I got a real problem with. But I think it makes me wonder what they're up to, which makes me think they got something that they're sort of laying weight on. I mean, when somebody goes quiet, it's either because they got nothing to say or they got a lot to say. It can go either way. And I think when August starts to wind down, we're going to hear a lot more from these guys. And I think it's going to be bam, 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 right to the end of the year. And we've also been talking about this. Was special counsel David Weiss, was he appointed legally? And here's an interesting point on that. I have heard some really great legal minds say you can't have someone be a U.S. attorney from the state of Delaware and at the same time also be a special counsel. You got to be one, you got to be both. You can't be both. A special counsel is supposed to be somebody from outside of government, not somebody that was already in the system. And so, we've been trying to figure out, is that legal? Well, I can read the law like you. It sounds like to me it's illegal, but I haven't heard anybody on the Republican side of the equation who's in the middle of this investigation raise this question in a serious way. And it could be they're out of pocket, could be that it's coming. I don't know. But I read a couple of graphs here in a story that made me think it needs to be addressed. This is from hotair.com. All this brings up another point. Will the legal infirmity of this appointment undermine any cases that do show up for trial on the Hunter Biden case? If convicted, could Biden then challenge the appointment? In other words, let's say nothing happens. The special counsel goes out there, brings some charges. It goes to trial. They're found guilty. Could then Hunter Biden say, well, yeah, but the special counsel had no authority under the law. So it doesn't matter. All of this is null and void and means nothing. Sound and fury meaning nothing. Because he was never really a special counsel. I don't know, but it seems like something that needs to be run to ground. I don't know how in the world you can be the Attorney General of the United States, not read the law, and then go ahead with this appointment. It doesn't add up to me. I've got real concerns about it. Where in the hell is anybody else who's raising Cain about this? It's been noted by some legal analysts, but that's about it. So we'll continue to watch and see what happens, but it makes good sense to me that it be run to ground early on. Is this legitimate? Can he be a special counsel or can he not be a special counsel? But one thing, you don't want to let things go too far before you find the answer to that question. 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Good evening. It is 5:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We have a mostly sunny sky. We're at 85 degrees. We'll have the weather forecast and the latest in traffic in just a few moments. The ex-wife of a Microsoft executive who was gunned down in the middle of the street last year, charged by a Florida grand jury with first-degree murder.
Shanna Gardner's been charged in the conspiracy that led to the ambush shooting of her ex-husband last year. Florida State Attorney Melissa Nelson.
And Shanna Gardner's indictment acknowledges her central and key role in the cold, calculated, and premeditated murder of Jared Brightigan.
Her new husband was also charged with first-degree murder in March. Authorities said Gardner was the landlord of Henry Tannen, another man charged in the murder. Kirsten Brightigan, Jared's widow.
Shanna's arrest ends one horrific chapter of our pursuit for justice for Jared, and now we open a new one.
Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty against Gardner.
Xavier Barbudar, he's known as the Chiefs-aholic. He's a Kansas City Chiefs fan that has made a name for himself on national TV. But the man who attended every Kansas City game in full-body costume finds himself behind bars now. He's been indicted by a grand jury on 19 charges, including bank robbery and money laundering. ABC's Bria Berry tells us that authorities say Barbudar hit a number of states on his crime spree.
Fans became concerned when he didn't show up to a December game. It turned out he had been arrested for robbing a bank in Tulsa. Xavier was released on bond in February, then disappeared in March. Prosecutors say he traveled throughout the Midwest, targeting banks in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa, Tennessee, and Minnesota. He's accused of laundering the money through casinos, redeeming more than $1 million in chips.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you, if I could, about assisted family care. One of the hardest things that we see as we get older is that our parents are getting older as well. And they're getting to an age where, they might be starting to struggle with the day-to-day things that were once so simple, but now they need a little help. And, do you have time? You got your family, you got your job, maybe distance is involved. You need help, right? Well, that's where assisted family care can come in and give you some assistance. They can connect you with a responsible, compassionate helper to assist you and your loved one with their daily needs. Now, if your loved one is a veteran or a spouse or a widow of a veteran, they could well qualify for a little-known benefit that helps cover these kinds of expenses. Assisted Family Care has years of experience in helping those in Middle Tennessee who qualify to get access to the benefit. Many veterans, you may not know this, eligible to receive up to 20 hours of daily living assistance each week at no cost to them. Not everyone is eligible, but if you're a veteran with wartime service, you could well qualify for the benefit for yourself or your spouse. The application process, well, it is complicated. It can be a bit confusing, but that's all right. Assisted Family Care in Nashville has years of experience in cutting through the red tape to help veterans receive this benefit if they are eligible. They will connect you. They will get you going. Assisted Family Care can help. Assisted Family Care will be there for you. Visit Assisted Family Care or call this number, 615-833-9725. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air as we bring you news and information you can use. We will go drive you home. We will drive home a few salient points, a few facts and statistics maybe along the way, and then we'll also try to drive the liberals just a little crazy. That's what we do. All right. This is honestly, how in the world can we even have any faith at all that that it's even going to be fair for Donald Trump? The folks over at Newsbusters have a running thing where they keep tabs on the network newscasts and the morning shows and the evening newscasts. And I guess there are still a number of people who get their news from the big three, ABC, CBS, and NBC. But boy, there's just, if you look at the coverage that happens when something comes out about Trump, boom. The coverage just goes crazy. If it has something to do, that makes Biden look bad, nothing whatsoever. Hardly even mentioned. And I don't get that at all. I guess I was still sort of raised in a time when the news business would try to at least feign some, willingness to cover both sides of an issue. They used to be fair, but I don't know. Over the years, it seems like that is just a What a quaint, old concept to actually be fair and balanced. The district attorney, this is from Newsbusters. The district attorney for Fulton County, Georgia, Fannie Willis, gave the liberal media another excuse to move past and ignore the bribery and corruption allegations swirling around President Biden and his family. Between Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, the big three broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, dedicated a combined 62 minutes flat on their flagship newscast to hyping the fourth indictment of former President Trump. And they go through, and CBS stormed in the lead with a combined 24 minutes, 5 seconds over 2 days, largely due to Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett, who was on the ground at the Iowa State Fair to take the temperature of how the Georgia indictment, along with others, was impacting the GOP primary. Reaction among Republican voters breaks down in two ways. First, general sympathy. Trump's the victim of too many Democrat investigations. But second, possibly more telling, Trump is distracted and wounded. That's the narrative. He's distracted and he's wounded by all of this. Well, I don't know that he's distracted. And if he's wounded, tell me how he's wounded when, according to the poll from Fox News that just came out, it says that Trump leads all other candidates by at least 37 points. So it's Trump 53, DeSantis 16, Ramaswamy 11, Pence 5, Haley 4, Scott 3, Christie 3, and then, a smattering of others. So I don't know that he's damaged among Republican voters, but that's the narrative. Well, he's distracted and he's damaged by this. I don't know. Everything that I see suggests that he's not damaged by this, that every time you come at him and you throw an indictment in his direction, give it a couple of days and his numbers go up. The more you try to attack him, the stronger he becomes.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Possibly imagine. So we go on. We got ABC fell into second place, 21 minutes, 44 seconds. NBC, 16 minutes, 11 seconds. How much time was dedicated to the whole Hunter Biden investigation? I mean, we got a story here that says the former vice president, when he went, under Obama, who's now our president, was getting emails sent to these pseudonym accounts where where he was getting information, and it was almost like an attempt to keep things out of the hands of the National Archives. But we found a couple of examples where some things blooped through the system, and somebody got tagged, and so he had a whole series of fake names. Now, can you imagine if they said, well, Donald Trump, when he was president, had fake email accounts and often, corresponded with people, and that's a violation of the National Archive? There would be nothing but wall-to-wall coverage. Well, that's the news today, and I guarantee you watch ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, you're not going to see one word about this. Not one word. It's completely out of balance. It actually it's maddening the way this goes. Speaking of other news media, we talked about Fox and Fox poll. I just ran through the Fox poll numbers, but Trump is not happy with Fox News right now. There's a big debate happening next week. What is on the 23rd? So we got a few days to go, and I don't think Trump's going to be there, although he has not officially ruled it out. He has said that he won't sign the pledge, the loyalty pledge, and the RNC has said, well, if you don't sign the pledge, you can't be a part of the debate. I don't think he wants to be a part of the debate, but if he wanted to be a part of the debate, it would just really surprise me, because he's 37 points ahead of his nearest opponent in the Republican polling data. 37. Well, I mean, the average is 40. He's 40 points ahead on average of DeSantis. So why in the world would you ever want to go on the stage? First of all, you're going to increase the number of people who watch the debate anyway. And then you're just going to give all of these people, the seven dwarfs there. Can I say that? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore. But the other also rans are not going to do anything except take pot shots at you. And all you've done by showing up is give them a bigger audience for them to do that. I just can't imagine that Trump is going to show up. And if he does, okay, well, that's great. But he's not happy with Fox, especially the folks on the morning. On Truth Social, this is what he wrote. Why doesn't Fox and Friends show all the polls where I'm beating Biden by a lot? They just won't do it. Also, they purposely show the absolute worst pictures of me, especially the big orange one with my chin pulled way back. They think they are getting away with something they're not, just like 2016 all over again, and then they want me to debate. In later post, he wrote, why does Fox News constantly put on slow-thinking and lethargic Bill Barr, who, by the way, was on again today? He says he didn't have the courage or stamina to fight the radical left lunatics when he was AG, and who even more importantly refused to fight election fraud he knew was going on, just look past at his past remarks. Unless Fox News starts putting the right people on, their ratings will never recover. Fox did not respond to all of this. I should say some of the numbers for Fox did take a dip when Tucker Carlson left or got fired. He didn't leave. And those numbers with the new lineup seem to be stabilizing somewhat. But, the numbers aren't exactly where they were, that's for sure. Listen, he leads the Republican field by more than 40 points, so he's going to dominate the conversation at the debate whether he's there or not. So I don't know that I can't imagine a scenario where Donald Trump decides to go to the debate. But in the meantime, his harsh rhetoric aimed at Fox News has certainly, I'm certain, not gone unnoticed by party faithful. And here's another one of these things that, as far as reporting goes, just makes me guano crazy. The White House is actually now saying we shouldn't have called the Inflation Reduction Act the Inflation Reduction Act. Joe Biden has said, that probably wasn't the right thing because it really was never really meant to reduce inflation. What? I mean, that's what we said way back when. We said, this is not an Inflation Reduction Act. This is a Green New Deal. This is dressed up Green New Deal. And that's what they're actually now admitting. The Biden administration, according to townhall.com, is celebrating the one-year anniversary of the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, by touting that the legislation as what it really is, a massive handout to climate change activists. I mean, they lied about what the bill was going to do. They gave us a bogus name that we all talked about on talk radio. But again, now they're coming full circle and say, well, we should just, have not called it that. Let's call it what it really is. It's just a camouflaged Green New Deal. Unbelievable. And that, there's nobody out there screaming and pounding the table and saying, wait a minute, how in the world can you get away with this? You told us that this was about reducing inflation. You kept talking about how it was reducing inflation. And now a year later, when you think nobody, is paying attention, you change the thing and say, well, it's not really about inflation. It's really about, trying to do things to impact the climate. It was a massive climate bill. And the media lets you get away with that? The media are corrupt. And it's maddening to me that there is such an imbalance. And anybody who and the reason why they do that and why this is something that really needs to be addressed is that there are a great number of people who don't follow the news that closely. And when a particular story just gets completely blown out, we're not going to cover that story, then they don't know a thing about it. So, wow. I know I'm not shocked, stunned, and amazed that it's that way. I'm just shocked, stunned, and amazed that people let them get away with this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's now 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. DT McCall's, let me talk about it. Listen, this is a place where I go for a lot of things around my house, and I just love it. It's got furniture, appliances, well, just about anything that you might need to appoint your home, you're going to find at DT McCall's. Now, if you are in the need for a new appliance of some kind, let me ask you a question. How many times have you purchased an appliance, paid extra? You got to, you can go to the big box store, they give you a good price, and then they say, yeah, well, do you want the cords and hoses? Well, of course you want the cords and hoses. You want it paid to have it delivered? Yeah, of course we want it delivered. What about the haul away of the old thing? That's an extra charge too. Sure. Well, and when you add all those things to it, you'll find out that price was really not a good price. At DT McCall's and Sons, they will give you an honest price, and they will never charge you extra for haul away, delivery, or setup. That's the way they are. You see, they're a family-run company over 100 years old, and they know that you can't make it that long if you treat people poorly. So they're going to try to treat you right. And whenever possible, DT McCall tries to sell products that were made and manufactured right here in Tennessee. It's a way to keep the dollars local, right? Listen, there are 5 convenient locations. Just go to their website to find out where the one is nearest to you. It's dtmccalls.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have 2 things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Let's talk about Nashville Golden Coin. If you are desiring to put gold or silver into your portfolio, listen up. I go to Nashville Golden Coin. If you're looking to buy real, actual, hold it in your hand, gold, silver, or bullion, it's the place I do business. It's the place I recommend. You'll get honest, friendly customer service and a real precious metals education. Now, they also specialize in the buying, selling, and appraising of coins. And do you have any idea how much some of those old coins you might have laying around might be worth? I brought in a few silver coins I had in a shoebox that was buried in my sock drawer. Been there forever. Hadn't thought about it in years. It turned out to be worth $1,652. Whether you're in the market to purchase precious metals or you just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, schedule a one-on-one consultation today. Just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We still have some sun and 84 degrees. That forecast and the latest traffic report are on the way. The search effort for victims in the Maui wildfires continues, but still no firm word on how many people are unaccounted for. Alex Stone with ABC's is there.
A leader at the American Red Cross says this is a mass casualty operation, not just a search and rescue effort. The FBI and FEMA are on the ground here helping to notify next of kin under Hawaii law. Family must be notified before information is released to the public. The Red Cross says a program will be announced soon to help the families collect the remains of their loved ones. Here in Lahaina, search teams are continuing their work.
Incredible acts of heroism emerging in the wake of those deadly wildfires. When disaster struck, a mother-daughter duo determined the only way out of the fire's path was to get out of their car and climb over a seawall and into the ocean. But the older woman had some trouble walking. They ran into a complete stranger who carried the woman on his back into the ocean water. Lonnie Williams tells ABC News the young man stayed with them in the water for more than 8 hours as the fires raged.
I just kept thinking to myself, like, this is a young, healthy guy that he could have just left. He could have swam around to safety, but he didn't.
111 deaths have now been confirmed, but that number is expected to rise. A regional task force has been created to combat the rise of flash mob robberies in the Los Angeles area.
The task force includes personnel from the LAPD, Glendale PD, FBI, and U.S. Marshals. LAPD Deputy Chief Chris Pitcher says 22 investigators will be working the cases.
We are going to be using all applicable technology during this task force. We will be using the cell tower dumps, computer information.
Retailers have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars from mobs running in and loading up merchandise. In one of the robberies, a security guard was attacked with bear spray.
A Tennessee man accused in the shooting death of a 3-year-old child has been arrested in Tullahoma. The U.S. Marshal Service says 33-year-old Christopher Smith was taken into custody in Middle Tennessee for the June 20th shooting that happened in Memphis. Detectives with the Coffee County Sheriff's Office assisted marshals in the arrest. Further details regarding the child's death are not immediately available. That is the latest news. That traffic and weather report are all upcoming. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, everybody, it's 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening. This is the fourth and final hour of The Drive on this Thursday, the 17th day of August. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and we are in for one more hour before we hand it over to Mark Levin. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about some Tennessee news. Apparently, the most interesting conversation that we've had today was surrounding the issue of corn.
Yeah,
because
got a big reaction. Yeah,
we started talking about corn, and I mean to tell you, everybody had an opinion about corn, or to tell me something that I did not know about corn. And the reason I say that is because it's funny. I can get out. I can hit you with hard-hitting analysis. I can do investigative work. I can go out there and I could be fire and brimstone. I can bring you something. But at the end of the day, the thing that garners the most response sometimes is something simple as corn.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are someone who likes corn, then you need to hang around this hour.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Here we go. A lot of things to cover here today. Again, when I get to the 6 o'clock hour, I feel like I sort of need to shove some stuff into the file that that didn't make it in the earlier thing because sometimes we like to segue one thing to another. But anyway, sometimes we can't do that. But they're still important stories, and I think we should get them across the goal line. So let's do that, right? Bidenomics fails. No change in Americans' disapproval of Biden's economic policy, according to a poll. Freebeacon.com. Despite President Joe Biden's continued efforts to tout his economic policies dubbed Bidenomics, polling shows that Americans have not changed their position on the president's policies. Just 36% of voters approve of Biden's handling of the economy. 36%. Lower than the 42% who approve of his overall job performance. Well, hold on a minute. Let's stop and talk about that for a moment. If James Carville is correct when he says it's the economy stupid, and I think he is, because people really honestly, they want to know, am I better off than I was 4 years ago? That's the question that you always have to ask. I don't know many people who would raise their hands and say, yeah, I'm just way better off than I was 4 years ago. Or, it's not quite 4 years yet. But that's the question, isn't it? And so, okay, they may say, okay, well, I'll give, overall 42%, not great. But when it comes to the economy, only 36% of voters approve of Biden's handling. Basically, the only people who approve of Biden's handling of the economy are people who are probably going to vote for Biden anyway. But the rest of them are not. If it is about the economy and people are not happy about the way they are and their economic situation, then, he's not going to be reelected. 36% approve of Biden's handling of the economy, according to new polling from Associated Press. Those numbers have changed little in the last year and a half. Another poll conducted in recent weeks by CNN found that half of all voters believe the economy is going to get worse. 51% of voters believe the economy is in a downturn and will get worse. Just 20% say the economy is improving, and 28% say it has stabilized. The same poll found that voters trust congressional Republicans more than Biden to handle the important issues of the day by a margin of 54 to 45. The continued poor polling of the economy comes despite Biden's frequent messaging on the policies. I mean, he's out there insanely trying to make the case that, Bidenomics, it's amazing. It's the cat's meow. It's that and a bag of chips. It's everything. It's, our economy is just percolate. Well, it's not. It's simply not. And I'm just going to give you, a real quick primer on why it's not going to get better. The price of gasoline. Gasoline continues to go up. The price of oil continues to go up. There's nothing about all that seems to improve the situation. Nothing runs through an economy and causes inflation at a greater rate than the high cost of energy. Because everything in the grocery store, every good and service has to be delivered using what? Energy. It takes energy to deliver markets, goods to market and services to market. You've got to have the energy, and if energy costs go up, everything goes up across the board. I mean, let's say if it takes if gas is more expensive to deliver to the grocery store has to pay more for it. Do you think out of the goodness of their heart, they're simply just going to absorb that? No, they're going to do what they always do. They're going to raise prices to cover their cost. And that means that's inflation. So, the Biden administration's got nowhere to turn now, it seems, on oil and natural gas. They're not drilling. Their policies have slowed the development of oil and gas reserves in this country. We went from being an exporter of oil and natural gas to being someone who now imports once again. And the only reason that it got better for a while is because they robbed the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now they got to start filling the reserve back up. The price of oil cannot be held down artificially by pulling more oil and gas out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's already lower than it's been since the mid 80s. So they've got to fill it back up, and they got to do it in a way that that gets that thing back up to be what it's supposed to be, a real hedge against a true national emergency. I mean, we got things going on with the Russians, and the Chinese are sort of irritated with us right now about Taiwan. And we're taking oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Doesn't that seem like a stupid idea? Well, that's Bidenomics. So there you go. Nothing is going to get better, and no change in the way people look at it. People are not fooled. People are upset, and their cost of living is going up. Inflation is going to go up, and I don't want it to go up. I'd like to see this economy come back down. Interest rates by now, I mean, today, a sign that that we may be facing additional interest rate increases in the days ahead, which suggests that inflation is still a problem, and the Fed's only tool to go after inflation is to do something with the interest rates, and they're going to go continue up. Well, it's like a little over 7% right now for a 30-year mortgage, which, I remember back in the days when it was a lot worse, but still, it's been a long time since we have a situation where interest rates are as high as they are right now. So, again, I don't see it getting better. Mark Meadows was one of those who got indicted along with Donald Trump the other day in the state of Georgia. And this is from redstate.com. Mark Meadows files a motion that could be an out in Georgia for Trump and several defendants. There were 18 or 19 of them. The ink is barely dry on 19 people, indictments of 19 people in Georgia, including former President Donald Trump, for allegedly trying to conspire to overturn the 2020 election, and moves are already being made. On Tuesday evening, news broke that Mark Meadows, one of the defendants, and Trump's former chief of staff, had filed a motion of removal in an attempt to get the charges out of Georgia and into a federal court. Let the fun begin. There we go. Defendant Marco Meadows, former chief of staff to the President of the United States, removes this proceedings from the Fulton County Superior Court case insofar as it charges Mr. Meadows with 2 counts, 1 and 28, of a 41-count indictment to the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. Mr. Meadows has the right to remove this matter. The conduct giving rise to the charges in the indictment all occurred during his tenure as part of service as chief of staff. In these circumstances, federal law provides for prompt removal of a criminal prosecution commenced in a state court. So, I mean, he's come up with something that could move it from state court to federal court And many people are going, that was an interesting move. And see, this is what I keep telling you. When you hear about indictments and they've been handed down, or I'm just going to say indictments are handed up from the grand jury, and in the situation you go, wow, that sounds dire. How many? 90, 91, 92, 90. How many different indictments have they brought against him? Well, that's just because the process is all one-sided right now. The attorneys for all of these individuals and all of these cases, and Donald Trump specifically, haven't really begun to have matters considered before the court. Pretrial motions will winnow so much of this away. It just begins with the indictment. The indictment means that, you've been indicted. So what? As they say, a good district attorney can indict a ham sandwich. I don't really know what that means, but every time I say it, you know what I really want? I want a good ham sandwich. Are you a mustard or a mayonnaise guy when it comes to ham?
Oh, a little bit of both for me.
Now, I can't imagine both.
Yeah. Mustard on one side of the bread, mayonnaise on the other.
Each have their charm, but one way or the other, it is true. It is a very low bar. The district attorney is just sending stuff right down. There's nobody to challenge him, nobody to tell an alternative story. And the indictment is just the beginning of the process. Then lawyers get involved, pretrial motions, this, that, and the other. I'm guarantee you by the time this is all over with, a good number of the indictments that have been leveled in the direction of Donald Trump will be thrown out or winnowed down or thinned out. It's really, honestly, it sounds worse than it is. I don't think it matters because I don't think Republicans give one whit about it. The polls seem to suggest that. But now it begins. Mark Meadows has found something, and there'll be others that follow suit. Here we go. This is interesting. Well, let's just stop right there, and we'll take a break. It is 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Genesis Diamonds' most extreme values on diamond engagement rings is coming to an end. You have until Sunday, 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA-certified diamond. The response has been incredible. People have been driving for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA-certified diamond rings are on sale, a full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price. We're talking values you never thought you would see, from a half carat to 20 carats, all handpicked for maximum brilliance, all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world. Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping right there alongside you. Rounds, radiants, pear shapes, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond ring selection you've ever seen. And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please. Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer prices minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See the store for details.
The mystery surrounding a missing Tennessee couple in Alaska continues. And we'll also have today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 6:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 24, we'll call it 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, this sensation that is Oliver Anthony continues to be quite the story. If you don't know, Oliver Anthony is the guy who wrote that song, I don't know if he wrote it, but he actually performs the song Richmond North of Richmond. It's really starting, to catch a lot of attention. Just listen to just a little bit of it here. Well, I mean, honestly, it went from, being something that got put together on YouTube with one microphone, standing in the woods, in somebody's backyard, all the way to becoming the number one song on iTunes at one point. And it's been seen millions and millions. Last time I saw it, it was like 11 million. It's probably way more than that now.
18 million.
18 million. Wow. That's astonishing. Well, Oliver Anthony now says that he has turned down 8 different $1 million offers since going viral. Said it's not what it's about. Viral singing sensation Oliver Anthony said he'd never had any interest in being famous, and he turned down 7-figure offers from stunned music industry reps and lamented the divided state of the internet in a Facebook posting on Anthony's song Richmond North of Richmond. It exploded. His song, which had been viewed, well, you said 18, when this was written 17 million times. He noted his real name is Christopher Anthony Lunsford. Oliver Anthony was his grandfather, and Oliver Anthony music is a tribute to him and the Appalachia community he was born and raised in. He added that he dropped out of high school at the age of 17 in 2010. And he said that he's gotten reading more than 50,000 messages and emails in the past week that have painted a brutally honest picture of widespread addiction, unemployment, anxiety, and hopelessness. I'm sitting in such a weird place in my life right now. I never wanted to be a full-time musician, much less sit at the top of the iTunes chart. I filmed these tunes on my land with the hope that they may hit 300,000 views. I still don't quite believe what has gone on since we uploaded it. It's just strange to me. He said, people in the music industry give me blank stares when I brush off $8 million offers. I don't want 6 tour buses, 15 tractor trailers, and a jet. Well, I would. I want to play music. I just want to play stadium shows. I don't want to play stadium shows. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I wrote the music I wrote because I was suffering with mental health and depression. These songs have connected with millions of people on a deep level because they're being sung by someone feeling the world in a very, personal way. No editing, no agent, no BS, just some idiot and his guitar. The style of music that we should never have gotten away from in the first place. Well, I sort of admire him for that. Anthony discussed his past employment that included a living hell at a paper mill in North Carolina, once fracturing his skull in 2013 that forced him to move home to Virginia. He currently lives on farmland he paid $97,500 for. He lives inside a 27-foot camper with a tarp on the roof. From 2014 until this year, he worked outside sales and industrial manufacturing, and that's where he got to know thousands of blue-collar workers. I've spent all day, every day for the last 10 years hearing the same story. People are so damn tired of being neglected, divided, and manipulated. There's nothing special about me. I'm not a good musician. Well, I disagree with that. He's a very good musician, got a great voice. He said, I'm not a very good person. I've spent the last 5 years struggling with mental health and using alcohol to drown it. I am sad to see the world in the state that it's in, with everyone fighting with each other. I've spent many nights feeling hopeless, that the greatest country on earth is quickly fading away. That being said, I hate the way the internet has divided all of us. The internet is a parasite. that infects the minds of humans and has their way with them. Hours wasted, goals forgotten, loved ones sitting in houses with each other, distracted all day by technology made by the hands of other poor souls in a sweatshop in a foreign land. Wow. The guy's sort of a poet in the way he talks and as well as he sings. I don't know. I think we've not heard the last of Oliver Anthony, but if it's about money, that's not what motivates this guy, apparently. It's 30 minutes now past the hour.
Good evening. It is 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We still have some sun, 83 degrees. A forecast and another traffic report are on the way. A week after they were last seen, officials in Alaska are continuing to search for two Tennesseans who reportedly disappeared while hiking at a Fairbanks resort. Jonas Bear, 50 years of age, and Cynthia Hovsepian, who is 37. They're both from Nashville, and they were last seen on August 10th on a hiking trip at a resort in Alaska. Search efforts have been ongoing there for about a week. After they were officially reported missing on August 12th, police found Bear's rental car, and troopers then launched a search and rescue operation in the area. Officials admit they are baffled. They have no leads at the moment. With today's closing money news, here is Chuck Siverston.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Major indexes ended lower for the third straight day. Investors reacting to the minutes from the latest Federal Reserve policy meeting, which show committee members remain focused on reining in inflation but are also unsure of their next moves. The Dow fell 291 points. The S&P dropped 34. The Nasdaq shed 158, or more than 1%. Apple alone fell 1.6%, with Meta and Tesla dropping more than 2% each. A rise in bond yields is forcing a reassessment of how much to pay for stocks. Walmart posted a strong second quarter sales result. Mortgage rates on a 30-year loan are now above 7%, reaching their highest level in more than 2 decades. 27 Boston market restaurants have been temporarily closed in New Jersey. State labor officials say $600,000 in back wages are owed to over 300 employees. More than 1.5 million dehumidifiers being recalled. Reports of nearly 24 fires.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let's talk about Everseal, and most importantly, let's explain what Everseal is. It's a sealant for wood and concrete, basically. It's been around for ages and was mostly used in industrial applications until the folks at Everseal figured out a way to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. Now, the process starts with a deep cleaning. They come in and they make sure that your wood or concrete is looking as good as it possibly can. And then they use their patented sealant to absorb all the way through. It's not something that just sits on top of it. It actually absorbs all the way through to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete, and it will prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. Think about that. I mean, just think about, sealing your deck. You do that, once a year? That's what I used to do. I do it about once a year. And if you do that once a year, think about how much it costs you, how much time it takes. Now multiply that times 2, times 5, times 10, times 20, times 30. Well, you're beginning to see how much money you could save over a period of time. You do it one time, and then you just move on. If this sounds like something you'd like to explore further, why don't you reach out to Steve Nelson and the team over at Everseal? They think it's a great idea, too, and they want to talk to you. 1-844-EVER-USA. That's 844-EVER-USA. Learn more at ever-seal.com. .38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for another 22 minutes, and then we go to news, and then we go to Mark Levin because, the guy will come on and say, he's here. And then the Mark Levin thing will kick off. Listen, we are we're doing good. We talk about stuff, and we're whining about this, and we're harping on that, and a lot of times the things that I bring you are, they have a negative connotation to them. People get bummed out. Let's talk about something that's positive, and that is that the Nashville economy, especially the part of our economy that is tied to tourism and entertainment, is roaring back in a huge way. A mega way. There's a great story. I found it on WKRN Channel 2's website. And, it lays out some pretty amazing statistics about how we did over the course of the last few months, when we have a lot of people that you want to, we're still a destination town. People still come here to listen to good music and to be entertained. It's still a destination, and it's really, bouncing back from post-pandemic levels is quite amazing. Let me read through this. From record-breaking concerts, major holiday celebrations, and highly covered athletic events. Visitor spending brought in millions of dollars to Nashville this summer. The summer was chock full of live music, and according to the folks over at the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation, we're doing good. We're doing real good. According to the corporation, Visit Music City and CMA generated, I'm not making this number up, $74 million from June 8th to June 11th, 3 days. Had more first-time and international attendees than last year. CMA Fest saw the number of hotel rooms increase 3% over last year, and hotel revenues increased by 7.4%, with an average length of stay about 5 nights. They're here for a week. When you come, you stay for a week. 4th of July, the free concert and fireworks show Let Freedom Sing generated $11.6 million in direct visitor spending, another increase from the year before. An estimated 250,000 attendees came to Nashville for the event, driving hotel room demand up 8% over last year. That's pretty good. Oh, but wait, there's more. Let's talk about Tay-Tay. Taylor Swift, the early May 3-night stand for the Eras Tour at Nissan Stadium. All told, 212 people went to that show. Hotel occupancy was near capacity all 3 nights. Notably, 96% capacity on May 6th. The 3 days combined brought an estimated $2.2 million in hotel taxes alone. That's something else. But wait, there's more. Ed Sheeran set an attendance record with at Nissan Stadium with 73,874. That was on July 22nd. It broke the tour record that had been set just days before by Taylor Swift. And in this particular case, daily hotel occupancy in the county was 91%. That's 15% year over year. Oh, but wait, there's more. George Strait performed with Chris Stapleton, 2 sold-out nights, Nissan Stadium. Hotel room demand for these 2 nights was just as strong as it was during the Swift weekend. So that's around 90% occupancy. That's getting it done. Yeah, and then you had the NHL draft, the NHL awards, SEC media days, and we still have the University of Tennessee getting ready to play the University of Virginia at Nissan on September 2nd. So that's still on the horizon. So when you look at all these numbers, you go, wow. I mean, we're still getting it done. We're still a destination that people want to go to. And after everything that happened during the pandemic, this is really good to see things bouncing back. A good revenue stream. All you got to do in Nashville is, provide good entertainment and get out of the way, because the city does the rest, okay? And I'm very happy to see these numbers start to really solidify after a few down years. Now, you know what today is? Today is August 17th. It is also the first day of the Wilson County, or actually what is the Wilson County, Tennessee State Fair. The fair will be bigger than better than ever. It opens now through August 26th, and the theme is 95 Reasons to Celebrate Tennessee. They say all roads lead to Tennessee, and the rose, apparently, is a reference to this year's theme, the agriculture focus being, this is the year of corn.
Year of corn, all right.
Year of corn. Not an ear of corn. That's a totally different thing. It's the year, not ear.
Yeah.
If you thought I said, ear, then you need to clean out your ears, because I said year of corn. In promoting corn as an agricultural commodity, this year will be educational displays throughout the grounds. There'll be a corn eating contest, a corn everything digital photo, a contest to make a scarecrow goddess out of corn stalks. So everything is all about corn.
Seems kind of corny to me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's something about a county fair or a state fair that's just a little bit corny anyway. Listen, general admission, $12 for adults, $6 for children, between the ages of 6 and 12. If you're under 6, or if you are 7 but you look small,
well, you know,
you can get in free. So listen, I want to talk just briefly about corn, because when we talked about corn earlier, I sort of diverted into something, talking about how I love corn on the cob. There's nothing better than corn on the cob. But it was only after I married Cabana Wife that I learned something that I did not know. That there is, I mean, honestly, if you said, hey, make me some corn on the cob, I'd have gotten some corn, I would have shucked it. I would have taken all those little silky things and, gotten rid of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have heated up a big pot of water, maybe just put a little dash of salt in there, and then I would just throw the corn cob in there and let it boil.
Yeah.
And I would have thought, that's corn on the cob all day long. It's not the best way to do corn, though.
Mm.
Cabana Wife has taught me something that I did not know, and that is that the best way to do corn on the cob is to not boil it in water, but to boil it in milk.
Milk?
Yeah, milk.
I would have never thought of it.
I mean, she soaks it in milk for a while, and then, she starts to turn up the heat a little bit until you got, you're cooking the corn in milk. I'm telling you.
It's good.
It is good. And now there's a new kind of corn. I don't know. I see signs on the road, because I live in bucolic Watertown. I drive along these country roads on the way to, like, I'm going to Lebanon, which is the nearest major community to where I live, in Watertown. And I see signs, peaches and cream corn.
Yeah,
peaches and cream. Yeah, I know. It's the rave this year. And I got to tell you, it's really quite good.
Apparently it's a hybrid that's kind of a white-yellow mix.
I don't know. All I know is that you take you some peaches and cream corn. It's not cream corn. That's a different thing completely.
Yeah.
You put that in a big, vat of milk, and you heat it up and you boil it, and then you bring it out and you slap some butter on it. Yeah. Just because you put it in milk doesn't mean you can't add the butter. You must add the butter, because without the butter, what holds on the salt and the pepper, right?
That's a good point.
And then when you bring that ear of corn up and you start nibbling on one row, and then, I don't know about you, but when I started,
you're like a typewriter.
Yeah, and I don't. Once I pick up and it goes to mouth, it does not stop until that entire corn is gone.
Now, do you do the little holders on it, or are you just grabbing the cob itself?
Well, I think the holders are nice, but I mean, I'm not going to let that stop me. If there are no holders,
you'll just dive right in. Yeah,
you just dive right in. It's one of those foods where, I mean, honestly, you're eating it with your hands anyway, one way or the other.
That's true.
But I'm telling you, if you haven't tried it, well, thank Cabana Wife, because first of all, I had never heard of this before. I don't know if anybody who'd ever heard of it before. Everybody who had the corn at my house the other day said, "Well, that's really good. What did you do?" And I said, the magic is the milk.
I'm gonna have to try it. That's all there is to it. Never had it. I'm gonna try it.
All right, I'm telling you, you try it now, and you thank Cabana Wife later, because I'm telling you, that's the way to do it. That's the way that you want to do it. Very quickly, hummingbird season is here in a big way. I am loving hummingbird season at my house. I've got hummingbirds that feed out there. They're very smart hummingbirds. They've even actually flown into our little sitting area on the back porch and have, alerted Cabana Wife to the fact that she needs to put more sugar water in the hummingbird feeder.
Demanding.
They fly back
critters.
and forth. Yeah, I mean, they're very insistent. But apparently, one of the most important things for hummingbirds this time of year is storing fat. That's because they're about to make their way south and need extra food for traveling. This is actually where they're going back south. They came north earlier, and now they're going back. It's about crossing the Gulf of Mexico, for example. Some of these birds do.
Wow.
An 18-hour journey. So they got to have a lot of fat stored up, and that's why they're just crazy hungry right now. And apparently, who knew this, but apparently, I don't know how this happens, but they say that hummingbirds eat bugs. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
They say, they love eating nectar and they'll eat out of your feeder, but they also love bugs. How do you eat a bug with that snout? I don't understand how you do that.
Well, it's still a little beak, I guess, so it still opens, right?
I guess. I don't know.
It'd be a tiny little bug, though.
It had to be a tiny little bug for a tiny little bird. But anyway, if you are so inclined to feed the hummingbirds, they say this is the time of year where you really need to get serious about your hummers.
All right.
There's nothing more fun, actually, than sitting on the porch in the evening, with a nice adult beverage. You've just finished 4 hours of broadcasting. You're sitting around in the cabana with a nice adult beverage watching the hummingbirds. Doesn't get any better than that. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Well, how are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide you the reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. What do you have to lose except for all the worry? So get started today by calling this number. 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path, that all the T's have been crossed and all the I's have been dotted. Again, that number is 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.